We all had some ongoing dialogue about this policy that I think Max raised for discussion a few meetings ago. And the memo that's in your packet, I think, to try to parse it down to the most simplest terms, you're really faced with the choice as to whether you want to continue this policy that's been in place since 2000 that prohibits employees who have separated from the district and retired from becoming re-engaged in providing contract work to the district within 6 months following their retirement. You could go further and also limit people from becoming employed on a part-time basis, which is something that we've really done through interpretation of the policy at the staff level, through HR in the past, that you could clarify that in terms of that 6-month timeout, that it applies not only to people who serve as independent contractors for the district after retirement, but also for employees. Another option is just to rescind it altogether, which I know was one of the questions that Max posed. Does this policy make good sense? And why are we having waivers presented from time to time? Would it be simpler and more equitable just to eliminate the policy altogether? So I really see that being the core decision for you all to make.
Well, let me direct a question to Cheryl. Cheryl, since we have a state statute that essentially does much of what this policy tries to do, is this somewhat redundant?
Yes. Even if you rescinded it, you are still bound by the state statute that prohibits the contracting within 6 months. The state statute is silent as to the re-employment during this 6-month period.
Oh.
My personal view is that I think it's a good safety measure to have in check. If we need to make an exception from time to time, I think it's good. I'd rather have something like this in place to say the standard is we don't. Given that we live in a time when a lot of government organizations get found to be corrupt, I think it's a good thing to have in place.
Well, I question where it says the board does not have the discretion to issue waivers in this situation. Explain that to me.
The state statute prohibits you from entering into a contract with a former employee for them to, or a company that they work for them to do the same kind of work they did when they were your employee. So you really don't have authority to waive that. If you added, and that's contracting, if you added the provision that prohibited you from re-employing people, so they were becoming your employee, not a contractor, your employee, that second half, you would have the authority to waive the 6-month period in the employment circumstance. The second one, the employment circumstance waivers, are the ones that you have been doing historically. Those are the requests that Chris and Mark bring to you from time to time. You can't waive the contracting because it's a state statute, but you could waive the employment prohibition.
Thank you for that explanation. I brought this to the surface and I was concerned about but the fact is that we have very good people involved in with this waiver, and I think that we've been very appropriate. So I have no problem with it. As long as it's dealt with fairly.
So keep it with the policy.
Just stay with the policy, which is fine.
Thanks for sending the background information requested last week. That was pretty helpful to see kind of the thought process that went on behind it when it was introduced, and seeing what they were dealing with at the time. It's like I like the policy a lot more now. I appreciate it a lot more when I realized what it helps keep control of in the district, and some of the practices were being used in the past. I'll put a damper on those things, and it looks like based on the infrequency of its uses that it's had the desired effect. But it does provide us to an opportunity to make an exception when the exception is warranted. So I'm fine with that also.
Well, I don't think we've ever had a problem with this particular policy, so I'll tell you, Max, when you say something, and my first reaction was, wow, that's really off the wall, but you've got 5 decades of experience in this district, and so when you speak, my great error would be to not listen. And so I got to thinking about this, and I do not like redundancy at any level of government. On the other hand, I don't think we've ever abused this policy. We certainly haven't in the 7 years I've been sitting here. In the God knows how many years I've actually been watching this thing happen. But at any rate, we've always dealt with unbelievably quality people, and that has enhanced, I think, the ability of the district to produce what we've been able to produce, which are great kids. So I think we should just leave this thing the way it is. Sorry for taking so many words to say exactly that.
May I interject, Dr. Schaefer? The staff's recommendation is actually to modify the provision in 6 to make the monitoring interpretations more closely aligned with the policy wording.
Mm-hmm.
So we would ask that you adopt that wording. It won't change
Right.
practice. It
Right.
merely will implement what has always been your practice if your choice is not to make any change.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Cheryl. What got me thinking about, let's just excise this thing, which was, hey, smaller government, right? Were Max's comments last meeting, but yeah, and I appreciate your work on that to make it clear and make it jive more with monitoring. Appreciate it.
I like the policy that should make some word changes to align with what Cheryl was saying. I like it because it's one of those, it's easier to beg for forgiveness and ask for permission. I think it's better to ask for permission. And it's just another check and balances to make sure that we're all on the same page and we know what's going on in our district.
So given what I'm understanding from the conversation, it sounds like folks are supportive of adopting this bolded language that's proposed for addition at the bottom of 2.6.6. And I believe you could appropriately add a motion to tonight's agenda to approve 2.6.6 as amended as shown in enclosure E1. So if that's the desire of the board, there's no sense to delay this or draw it out. You can have a motion introduced tonight, second, take a vote.
And I would so move.
Second.
Excuse me. Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Figueroa.
Aye.
Mr. Jennings.
Aye.
Dr. Schaefer.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Thank you.